So today we are working on inequalities and equations. So we are going to solve our inequalities, graph them, and also solve for variables in equations. So number one asks to write an inequality. So if you remember, that means it is not equal. So it could be a less than sign, a greater than sign. They could also be less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So we're using these kind of symbols in our problems. So we have 3 times x. So we could write that as 3 times x. We could also just write 3x. We wouldn't want to use the times x sign, or it will look like 3xx, and we won't know which one's a variable, which one's an operation. So one of these two, and then we're going to minus 7. This is going to be less than 11. Number 2 is another inequality. We have x divided by 5 on one side. So over here we'll have x divided by 5, and that is going to be greater than 12. X divided by 5 is greater than 12. Your words and your problem should sound exactly the same when you read them out loud. Number 3 wants to know which inequality is being represented here. So when we have the open sign, that means it is not included. So it's a greater than or less than sign. If it is a filled in circle, that means it's greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So they're going to be included if it's filled in. If it's open, that means it's not included. So we're just going to, looks like our problem is using the variable of b. So we've got b to compare to. And we know b is getting smaller. B could be 6, 5, 4, 3. So we need to have b is getting less than. And because it's an open circle, we don't have our equal sign on the bottom. The circled number is 7. B is less than 7. So it could even be 6.999 forever and forever, but it can't be 7. Number 4, the variable it uses in our answer is W. And I can see that my answer has to get bigger. So W is going to be greater than. I can see it's filled in, so it's included. And this number it's on is 4. So this time it could be 4. It could be 4.01, but because it's equal to, it could also include that. So number 5, we have the variable of W again, and we can see that our answers are going toward the bigger side of our equation. I can see that it's filled in, so it's included. So 40 could be part of the answer. So I'm going to let you fill in the sign that would go here. So it has to be greater than 40. W is bigger than 40. And it could be 40. It could be 40. It could be 50. It could even be 40.001. And those would all be greater than 40 and could equal W. Number 6 wants us to solve this equation. So we need to figure out, what does n equal? So first we're going to do our adding and subtracting. We're working backwards. So we do our order of operation backwards. So the opposite of minus 7 is to add 7 to both sides. So that's canceled out. So now we have 5n equals 39. Now we need to divide by 5, do the opposite to both sides. So that's gone. So n is going to equal 39 divided by 5. I can see, I know 5 can't go evenly into 39. I can see, looking at the answers on number 6, that they're given in decimals. So I need to find the decimal here. So we've got 39 divided by 5. I know it can't go in there perfectly, so I'll go ahead and just add that 0 to get you started. And that will give you your answer to n. Number 7, again, we're solving for y this time. So working backwards, we need to do the opposite of adding 14. So there's that part. So we'll have to borrow here, which is 4. 10 minus 4 is 6. 4 minus 1 is 5. So we have 4y equals, oh, that was not 56. I added. How about 36? There we go. So the opposite of timesing by 4 is to divide by 4. So those are canceled out. So y equals 36 divided by 4. Number 8, we are doing the same thing, but this time we just have an inequality. We're going to keep that sign exactly like it is. So we need to do the opposite of add 3. So that cancels out. So now we have 4m, keep my sign the same. 19 minus 3 is 16. Do the opposite of times by 4 to both sides. So m, keep my sign the same, and then do 16 divided by 4 will give you your answer there. Okay, number 9, we have 3r minus 12 is greater than or equal to 15. So we need to do the opposite of minus 12 to start. So that cancels out. So we're left with 3r. Our sign stays exactly the same. And here we have 27. The opposite of times by 3 is to divide by 3 on both sides. So r, my sign stays exactly the same as greater than or equal to 27 divided by 3 will give you your final answer. Number 10, Ryan wants to spend no more than $1,250 on his trip. So that is the most that he wants to spend, no more than that. So it sounds like he can spend exactly that, but he just can't spend more. His airfare is $439. So we need an inequality. So I know it's going to have a greater than or less than sign. Shows how much Ryan has to spend on other things on his trip. So looking at all of the answers over here, I can see the $1,250 is always over here on the right. That's how much he has to spend, which we know is $1,250. This is the most he can spend. So we're going to look over here at how much he can spend, and we need to compare them. So I know that this is the most he can spend. This needs to be the biggest number in my equation. So I'm going to add in my greater than sign here. But I come back here and it says he can spend no more than this. So he can spend exactly $1,250, but he can't spend $1,250.75. That would be more. So it can equal this, but it can't be more. So this should be the biggest number. So I know he's going to spend $439 on his airfare, which is less than what he has. So that sounds good. And it wants to know how much can he spend on other things on his trip. Looks like we're using D as our inequality. So if I'm spending $439 and I add on any other dollars I spend, this number together, this problem here, needs to be less than or equal to 1,250. So right there, we have our final equation.